today. Can everybody hear me okay? You can give a thumbs up. You can hear all right? All right, great. So thank you all for being here. Welcome back to Chair Yoga. I'm so excited to be here. I'm in a new space and I love it. I said this before to people who are on the live call, but for those of you watching the recording, if you have a bolster or like a big pillow or a bunch of blankets piled up, you might want to grab that. If you have a block or something that could just use as a block, like a big book or a pretty sturdy water bottle or something that you can reach down to, or maybe put it between your knees later, something like that. And then I have today a strap, but if you don't have a strap, you can use a belt, a towel, a scarf. All we're really using it for is to create some tension. And we'll be using it in a couple different ways to sort of push and pull a little bit. So it doesn't have to be a yoga strap if you just have something you can use to create tension, something that feels safe for you. Sandra just logged in too. Okay, great. Well, we're going to start. If your chair has rollers on it, be extra careful. If you're on carpet or something slippery that your chair can slip on, I definitely suggest putting something under it, but it's not required. I have my mat today. But before I just taught this on carpet. So just make sure your chair's not going to slip when you stand up or move around a little bit. Feet right under the knees right under the hips. And then just find a dignified seat. If at any point you need to lean back in your chair, you're welcome to. But we're going to try to find sort of a straighter spine. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight. We're lifting the chest, letting the tailbone be heavy. So we're not lifting the chest and arching our back. We're trying to find this neutral spine with a long neck. And then closing the eyes if that feels comfortable to you. If it doesn't, you can just gaze down on the floor. Just taking a couple deep breaths in and out through the nose if possible, or just breathing in whatever way feels most comfortable to you. And then really, really starting to focus on that breath. So maybe just making as many observations about the breath as you can. How many seconds does it take to inhale? How many seconds does it take to exhale? What spaces in the body inflate on the inhale? What spaces in the body release on the exhale? What's the temperature of the inhale on the insides of the nostrils? The temperature of the exhale on the outsides of the nostrils. Do you feel a different energy, a different sensation on the inhales versus the exhales? Can you notice the slightest pause between the inhales and the exhales? Becoming very, very familiar with your natural breath so that you can use it as a tool throughout practice. Sometimes I might instruct to inhale here or exhale here. And if you're not doing it at the same time, it doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. Think of it more as a reminder to breathe, or a reminder to bring the attention back to the breath. A reminder that you need to continue checking in with the breath to notice if it has changed greatly from the state. If it has become more labored, if it has gone away, And that's a really good sign to back off. Bring the hands to the heart center. If there's any other intentions for class, any sensations, moods, qualities you'd like to cultivate through your practice, now's the time to remind yourself of those. Bring the hands to the forehead for Karma Yoga. Selfless intention for a person, a place, a situation in need. Exhaling, bringing the hands down. You can begin to blink the eyes open, sitting up nice and tall. You can shake out your arms a little bit if they've got tired resting there, and maybe move around in the seat if you need to. And then we'll just keep our feet under our knees. If this is bothering you at all, you can always take a block or a blanket or something like that. Let's say you're a little shorter in the legs and your chair is just not the right thing. You can put that under your feet if that makes your hip flexors feel a little bit more comfortable. For some people, that might be the case. Just so that you can lift them up a bit, give them support. For me, this is about the right height. So we'll sit up nice and tall. We're just going to move through our spine first today. So we'll start by taking our hands to the knees and cupping the knees. And then from here, begin to inhale, pulling the chest forward, arching the back, lifting the tailbone, coming into a cow back. So you're really trying to lift the chest up more than anything and try to lift that tailbone back. Exhale, begin to round in the back. You can press your hands against the knees to really try to round in. It may feel good to tuck the chin, it may not, so just choose if you want to or not. And inhale, arch the back. This is called a cow. This is called a cat, like an angry Halloween cat, rounding into the spine. You can add a little bit of extra movement here as you start to move back and forth, just sort of shrugging the shoulders up and back as you come into these spaces, if that feels good to you. If you don't want to add it, you don't have to. You might add a little bit of a looking up towards the ceiling as you arch the back, but try not to let the back of the head touch the back of the neck. You can hear it. It cuts off your breathing. That's not what we're trying to do. Only finding the amount of movement that feels good in your spine. The minute you might start to feel a little twinge, a little pain, stop. We're just trying to explore our range of motion today and what feels good. And then from here, just return to a neutral spine. So our backs go back and forth like that, and they also go side to side. So we're going to explore this movement now and see how this is feeling today. So if you have 2 blocks or a couple books or something like that that you can put beside you, you can, or you can just use one, or you don't have to use them at all. They're just there to help catch you if you start to fall, or you can use them to resist a little bit. Inhaling, arms up, palms face each other. Reach through the fingertips to get long in the sideways. Exhale, bring the right hand down. Maybe it finds something, maybe it just sort of hangs out and lifts in space. And then really reach up and over with that left arm. You're keeping your left hip really secure in the seat. So you don't want to go off to the side. You're trying to really, really stretch that left sideways. Maybe if your hand is touching something, the right hand, you push into it more to really expand the rib cage. Inhale, bring both arms up. And exhale, bring the left arm down. Reach up and over with the right arm, stretching that right side body, keeping the right hip heavy. Inhaling both arms up. We're going to go over to the left one more time. If you're switching back and forth, that's okay. Just take a little extra time to do that. Reach up and over with the left arm, and maybe it feels okay to look up toward the ceiling, to twist the body toward the ceiling slightly. Maybe that doesn't feel okay, and it might feel better to look down toward the ground slightly. That's okay too. Or you just stay straight. Inhale, both arms up. Left hand comes down, right arm comes up. Take your time getting there. Reaching up and over. Maybe opening up towards the ceiling, maybe closing more toward the ground. One more time, inhaling arms up and over to the right. This time you can take this arm, really, really reaching over. Maybe let the forearm drape over the forehead or the top of the head, the crown of the head. And then push the head into the arm. That resistance Might give you a little bit more sensation. Inhale the arm back up and over. Bring the left hand down. Right arm goes over. You can keep the arm extended, or you might let it drape over the crown of the head, and then push the head into the arm. Just a little bit of resistance might give you a little bit more stretch if you need it. Inhaling both arms up. Exhale, let the hands come down. So we're going forward and back, side to side. Now it's twisting, a corkscrew motion. That's the other shape our spine can make for most of us. So from here, we're going to sit up. We're going to take our left or our right hand, to our left knee, and then our left hand behind us. And you can find the chair anywhere that feels comfortable. That might be up higher, down low next to the seat. You might have an armrest and you want to rest your hand there. That's totally fine. Sitting up nice and tall first. We're first going to just take our belly button and point it toward our left knee. That might be where you stay. If that feels comfortable to you, you're going to start to turn your chest to the left. Sitting up tall, maybe you turn your head to the left. Sitting up tall, maybe you turn your eyeballs to the left. If you feel any pain in your neck, just keep the head in line with the sternum, with the chest. And then every time I inhale, I'm going to sit up a little taller. And every time I exhale, I'm going to twist a little bit more. And you may not actually go anywhere. It's more of a sensation, an energy sensation. So an inhale is like a lifting up, a lengthening. And exhale is a little bit more of a releasing, an allowing. Inhale, look forward with the neck. Exhale, unwind. Shake it out a little bit if you need. And then bring the left hand to the right knee. Bring the right hand behind you. Sitting up nice and tall. First, start to bring the belly button toward the right knee. So your bottom half of your torso is facing to the right. Then your shoulders. Then you can turn your chin over your right shoulder. Then maybe you turn your eyeballs even more to the right. You give your eyes a little bit of a stretch. Inhaling, sitting up. Exhaling, possibly twisting a bit more, or at least finding more comfort in the twist. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling, maybe finding a bit of a sensation of lightness or sort of lengthening. Exhaling, a little bit of a grounding sensation. On an inhale, return the chin back to center first, and then exhale, unwind. Out of the shape. Give it a nice little shake. Move your body around. And then we'll start on a little bit of a salutation. So just remember that this is always something you can do. We're going to do a standing salutation in a few minutes as well. This is always something you can come back to if you would prefer not to do a standing salutation for any reason whatsoever. Just to start to build a little bit more heat and get us moving a little bit more. From here, arms are going to come up, palms face each other, and you can reach through your fingertips. Really try to get along sideways, which might mean that the shoulders go up next to the ears, but that's okay for right now. Exhale, fold forward over the legs. Your knees can be as wide as you want them to be. If you want to be a little bit wider, so maybe you have a little bit more space for your belly to go, that's totally fine. Letting your head relax. Now be careful, you don't want to go too far forward. Try to keep your hips heavy. Inhale, pull the chest forward. You're going to halfway lift. You can either take your hands to your shins and press those hands into the shins to pull the chest forward, or elbows to knees, using the elbows to support you to get this long spine. Exhale, relax, allowing yourself to take the length you just created to fold back in. Inhale, coming all the way up to seated with the arms up. Exhaling, press the arms down. Inhale, lengthen, lifting up. If you don't want to impair the breath, you don't have to. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Just remember, it's a reminder to breathe. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. Exhale, press the arms down. One more of those. Inhaling, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, come all the way up to seated. Remember that this is a salutation you can always return to later in the practice. So from here, let's grab a strap, towel, scarf, whatever it is you have to create a little bit of tension. And I will say, if you are able to find something pretty wide, then you might be able to have a little bit more range of motion, but you can totally do this with something more narrow. It's just know that like you probably will not have as big of a range of motion as like I might be showcasing, but that's okay. It's not really about what it looks like. It's more about finding the sensations of stretch that we're looking for. So I'm gonna hold because mine has metal on the end of it and I don't want it to playing around the whole time. I'm gonna hold on one end and I'm gonna make my arms pretty wide. Now you're just gonna make your arms as wide as your thing can go if it's shorter, like if it's a hand towel or something. And then from here, we're gonna start to inhale and bring those arms straight up. You don't want it to be too wide that you cut yourself in the face. So it should be a little bit less than that. And then do me a favor and just see if, even if your hands are really close together, see if you can push your thumbs away from each other so that your wrists aren't collapsing in. It's a really strong wrist. And try to keep that happening. It may not happen the whole time. And you might only be able to get your arms here or even lower down. That's fine. Find where your in range of motion is and where it feels safe. If you feel like you can do more, you're going to start to bring your arms back behind you. This is where if you're having a narrow hold on something, you're probably not going to be able to go very far, and that's totally fine. Maybe if you have something wider, you can go even farther. Maybe if you have something wide, you can go all the way down behind you. It's okay if the answer is no. We're just figuring out what our arms can do. Inhale, push your hands away from each other, lift the arms up and back over. We're just gonna sweep through that a couple more times. You can go as slow or as fast as you like. If you find any pinching sensation, stop. Don't go through that range of motion. Doing a couple more times. I will be honest, the slower you go, the harder it is. You're just like, and I'm going as fast as I want. You probably won't find there's little points where it's a little harder. And just one more. Up and down. And then stop. Shake it out a little bit. Give yourself a, even sometimes it's kind of just nice to shake out the arms around a little bit, shake out the shoulders, the neck. We're going to do some neck stuff though. Probably where we're going next. We are going to do this one more time, but this time it's not so much about pulling against the strap so you're creating that resistance. Just kind of hold it out loosely. And we're going to draw big circles with the arms, called around the world. It only gets confusing when we change directions. So you'll start to take your left arm down, your right arm up, and just make a big circle behind you. Again, that circle might be like right here. And that's cool. It doesn't have to be huge. You can try to bring your arms down and around. And just went in the opposite direction. So, and then you're just going to switch without thinking too much about it. Don't think too much about it, just try to make them go in the opposite direction. We're really just trying to get our shoulder joint to move all the way around the shoulder. And then you can relax, shake it out a little bit again. Just put the strap to the side. We are going to use it for our legs later, but not right now. Shake it out a little bit. And I feel like a lot of us might have built some sensation in this upper shoulder area there, or upper neck area. So let's use that to help bring some attention to those areas as we bring some stretches there. Sitting up nice and tall, you're just going to take your right ear and let it fall toward your right shoulder. My neck is so tense and tight right now, it is not going to go very far, and that's okay. I'm stopping when I feel stretch. That doesn't change my breath. I do want you to check in with your right shoulder. A lot of times we're like, okay, take your right ear to your right shoulder, and people do this. This is probably really exaggerated. But make sure your right shoulder is also relaxed down. And then bring the head up And just very, very slowly and gently take it over to the left. Letting the left shoulder relax, left shoulder head relax. Bring the head back up to center. We're just going to add on a slight bit. You could, if that was already a lot of sensation, don't add on. But if you want to, your arms become heavy. And then when your right ear reaches towards your right shoulder, you make a fist with your left hand and you send it down toward the ground. You might even be able to find your chair seat pushed down. Not like a really, really hard push, just as a sort of gentle resistance. Inhale, bring the head back up. Left ear to left shoulder. You can let the right arm drop. Both arms dropping is going to give you a little bit. It's also going to help that left shoulder relax some. Make a fist with the right hand and push it toward the ground. Or maybe you find your chair seat and you just apply a little bit of pressure. Also just notice, are you leaning to the left or are your shoulders over your hips and your head pointing to the left? Inhale the head back on straight. We're going to add on one more time. So if you'd like, your head's going to go to the right. Your right arm will just relax. You take this left arm almost like it's reaching back behind you, and I'm kind of reaching for the back part of my seat, or if you're in like a chair that has more of a back, you might be able to reach like for one of the back parts, just reaching for something slightly more behind you. But be careful, this might cause some sort of feeling in the shoulder. It's pinchy, nervy, don't do it, not worth it. It's just trying to create a little bit more of a stretch in the left trap in front of the neck. You can also play with the angle of your head. Maybe the chin's up a little bit more, maybe it's down a little bit more. And then inhale the head back on straight, releasing the arm. Shake it out a little bit between those sides. We're doing a little bit more intense. And then start to drop the left ear toward the left shoulder. Maybe you bring that right arm back somewhere, finding the chair. If you want to, the more sort of resistance you can pull, the more sensation you might get, but necks are sensitive, so don't cause too much sensation. And then inhale the head on straight, and exhale, release a little bit. So we are going to start to do a little leg stuff before we stand up today, if we want to stand up today. So grab your strap again, or your towel, or whatever it is, whatever you're working with, and begin to bring that strap around your toe mounds. So try to avoid getting it in your arch, because that can cause foot cramps. Try to get it through the toe mounds, sort of like right below the base of the toes. And then sit up, and make sure the strap is loose enough that you can have some pull with your elbows, but tight enough that it does have a little resistance already on the foot. So left foot's just going to stay where it is. Right foot, we're going to start to use the strap to pull the knee in toward the chest. That might be here, that's fine. It may not even lift off the ground, also totally fine, but we're working on it. And we're pulling our chest forward. So we're not rounding in to pull in, we're trying to stay uplifted. And then from there, we're going to start to send energy through the heel, bringing the leg towards straight. It does not have to be perfectly straight. It could be bent, but we're pushing through the heel. If you need to give yourself more space on the strap or towel, do. If it's a really short towel, you might not be able to straighten your leg very much, and that's fine. Exhale, bend the knee in, bringing the knee back in toward the chest. Push through the heel, extending through the leg. Bend the knee in and extend. Make sure to be careful with your knees. If you're feeling any sensation there, just make the movement smaller. If you can, try to keep your knee where it is and just extend through the heel, which is very different than this. All right, I'm just kind of like moving my leg back and forth. We're trying to keep our knee where it is, so it might be here, and extend the heel forward, which is different than moving the leg up and down. And do one more of those on that side. And then release that strap. You can shake it out a little bit. Don't worry, we're gonna do some stuff out to the side when I get some of those other parts of the hip that may have been calling to you right now. And we'll move on to the left foot for now. So put that strap around the left leg, left foot. Sit up nice and tall. Pull the knee in towards the chest. It does not have to be super close. It could be here, it could be here. And then push through the heel to extend the leg towards straight. Again, it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. If it really bothers you that it's not straight and you have something long, you can move your hands up. Bend the knee in, push the leg forward. Knee in, push forward. As much as you can you keep the heel and knee in the same line? It's okay if you need to move a little bit, but we're just not doing this, right? We're not just wrenching the knee in and out. It's really to help try to stretch that hamstring a bit, which is why keeping a bend is fine, because that really gets into the belly of the muscle and not just the points that connect to the joints. Doing a couple more, straightening, and then let it go. Sit it down, shake it out a little bit. We'll return to the right leg. So put that strap around the foot. And especially for this one, we're going to go out to the side. If you feel any knee pain, bend the knee, maybe bring it back to the ground a little bit. And if you feel any hip or low back pain, do not go out so far. You can always keep your foot down on the ground, which will help alleviate a little bit of that pain for most of us, if you're having it. If you feel comfortable, your knee is going to come in a little bit. Leg's going to go to straight. Remember that leg on the ground is always an option. And then from here, you can take your strap or your towel or something in your right hand. I also like to keep a hold of my left hand still. And you're going to take it out to the right a little bit. A little bit might be here, 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 here. Let's play with the rotation of the leg. So right now, my knee is pointing up towards the ceiling, my toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. What would happen if I sort of rotated my leg out to the side a little bit and my toes out to the side? For me, that's way more comfortable. I could probably go a lot farther. You might not agree with that. What would happen if you turn your toes in a little bit? Internally rotate the leg. And just do a little bit of that, sort of just internally rotate. Trying to do it from the thigh, not the ankle. So let me see if I can even do it with my ankle. That is different than this. See how my whole leg's moving. And then bring it back to center. You moved it around a lot, you held it out there a lot. It's probably good. Moving the left leg. So again, I like to secure my left hand closer. Do what feels best to you, okay? Sitting up tall. Extend the leg to a comfortable degree. It doesn't have to be super intense. And then take it out to the side. And then maybe you externally rotate, turning toes away from you, knees away from you. Internally rotate. External. Internal, maybe there's one of those that feels better to you, and so you kind of stay there for a moment. Maybe you're like, ooh, that one doesn't feel good, so you just avoid it, and that's fine. And then bringing the leg back to center. Unwinding out. Shake it out a little bit. Move around some. So your legs should be pretty awake now. We're going to come to a standing place. So just you can either bring your hands to your seat, hands to your knees, hands to your hips, and you'll make sure, one thing that we can all make sure a little bit more of is that we really push our feet down when we stand up, rather than letting our knees go way past our toes. Our knees have to go past our toes to stand up. What I mean by that is a lot of people sort of send out a long weight forward, and they don't really, they think more about pushing up rather than pushing down with their feet. So push down with your feet to stand up. And then we'll make our way to the back of the chair, or like I'm going to do, you could just flip it around. So you're facing the back of the chair. And here we're just going to do a little bit of movement, which are a good time. Perfect. All right, great. So hands on the back of the chair, so you're nice and sturdy to begin with. Toes point forward, knees point forward. We'll just take 3 big steps back with our right leg. And they don't have to be huge, but we also don't want them to be short because then you're going to set yourself up for a lot harder fold in a second. So you're just going to take 1 step back with the right foot and step forward. 2 steps back with the right foot and step forward. 3 steps back and stay. So you can't really see my feet too much right now, but maybe you can. My left toes are pointing forward, my right toes are pointing in slightly. So there's like a 45-degree angle on my back foot. Today we're just keeping this front leg straight. We're not doing a lot of bending and straightening into it because we already did that sitting down. We're just going to find a nice stretch in our back and hamstrings. So you might be like, Rebecca, I'm already finding a lot of stretch here, and that's cool. You're just going to push your hands down and pull your chest forward and push your feet down. You want a little bit more? You're leading with your chest forward and your left hip back. So you're not letting your left hip come forward and then you come forward. Think about turning it back so your right hip comes forward slightly, chest comes forward slightly. Pyramid. Maybe, if you can, if your chair is set up this way, you can find the seat of the chair. Pull your chest forward. You can press your hands down to do that. Pull the chest forward, getting this long spine. Send that left hip back. Maybe you can bend your elbows. Maybe there's a spot below your chair somewhere, like I have this foot ring here, that you can go even farther and maybe you can rest your head on the chair somewhere. Just do something where it feels like a good stretch, but it doesn't change your breathing and your head or neck are not in a comfortable position. Taking 1 more big inhale and exhale. And then on your next inhale, walk yourself up. And then step the right foot forward. Just finding Samasthiti, equal standing pose. You can keep the hands on the chair if you need that balance, or you can just release the hands next to you. Just allowing our body to settle for a moment. Sides are going to feel different. That's a good thing. It reminds us that not each side is the same, and that we don't have to treat each side like it's the same. So on this one, we'll take 3 steps back with that left foot. Take a pretty big step, because now you know where you're going. So if you take too short of a step, you have a lot farther to fold forward. You're going to get a lot more intensity in that front leg. Whereas if you take a pretty good step back with that left leg and do it 3 times and then stop, then that kind of gives you the right length that feels natural for your body for most of us. And if you want to shorten or lengthen it, you always can. Left foot is in more at a 45-degree angle, right toes point forward. Bring both hands to the back of the chair and use that to press your chest forward, sending your right hip back. Again, totally great to stay right here, stretching through that right leg. And if you're choosing to stay here and you feel like maybe you're not doing enough, which is a silly thing to feel, whatever, maybe you don't, then get really interested in pushing the big toe mound of the right foot down while pulling that hip back. And then if you want to add on more sensation, you bring your chest toward the chair. It's coming forward and down. So you're not rounding in. It's not nose to knee. It's chest to chair. Maybe the hands can go lower. Maybe you use the hands to keep pulling the chest forward. Keep pushing the feet down to extend the hips back. Keep pushing the hands down to extend the chest forward. Don't look forward with your chin though. That could cause you to have a lack of breathing. So keep thinking the back of the neck long, looking down. It's like you're trying to get the crown of your head to the wall in front of you. Take 1 more big inhale. And exhale. And then on your inhale, make your way up. And then slowly step that left leg forward and shake it out a little bit. So we're going to do 1 balancing pose today. And I'll show you it's a tree pose. So there's 2 different ways you can do it. And I know people in this group, some like it one way, some like it the other. So just a reminder of what it is. You could use the back of the chair as a second point of contact, or you could use your shin as a second point of contact. So on the left side, I'm going to show you with the hand on the chair. On the right side, I'm going to show you with the shin. You're doing the same shape. You can try both. And then next week, when we do it again, you kind of know which one you like more. Or if you know what I'm talking about, you know which one you like more, do the one you like more. So my right leg, the chair, the foot is closer to the chair, is going to push down. If you're doing the shin one, it's the opposite. So push down to the ground. Bending my knee that's going to come up. Bending my left leg in this case, so the one that's away from the chair. I'm going to do my tippy toes. And I'm going to push into that tippy toe, so I'm not just slumping off to the right. I really want to try and keep my hips fairly even. And then you could take that knee out to the side. And you might be staying right here. That's great. You hold on to the chair, you're trying to balance yourself. Wonderful. You could walk that leg closer together. If you do that, push the foot into the leg into the foot. You could bring that foot up higher. If you do that, push the foot into the leg and the leg into the foot. Do you see how my hips were slumping? And now when I push them together, I have a little bit more even hips, a little bit more structure, a little bit more strength. Find the space that feels good. You don't feel too wobbly. And a trick could be to stare at something in front of you that's not moving. And if it feels good, you can do a couple hand placements. You can bring your hand to the heart. You can bring that hand up. Be careful, you might wobble. I also always like a sort of hand to the inside of the knee. There's various mudras, which are hand shapes you can make here. Don't have enough time to get into all of them, but if something feels right, do it. And then we're just going to try to hold this for about 3 more breaths. You might feel some wobbling. You might need to come in and out. Completely fine. We're building the muscles in our little feet, little muscles around the ankle. We're also building this inner muscle. It's not a real muscle, but it's the ability to find balance within ourselves. The ability to not judge ourselves for coming in and out of something or for struggling. And then as you're ready, you'll release your arm down if you brought it up. Bring the knee back to center. Step out, and then give that right foot or the foot you're standing on a really good shape. You can even move around in circles, just let it relax. So I'm going to show you the shin version. Some people like this. If you haven't tried either of them, try both of them. Maybe you want to try this on the other side. That's totally fine. So this time my left foot's going to press down, and my right leg's going to go out. The chair is pretty close to me. You can always adjust yourself. So push down with the left foot, bend into the right knee, come onto those tippy toes, and then send the leg out to the right. It's already gracing the side of the chair. And then I'm going to bring that right foot up. For me, right about there is the right point for my shin to touch the chair, my foot to touch my calf to touch my foot. Push again, your foot into your calf or your leg into your foot. And then what happens is you get this second point of contact with the shin, which helps your body to immediately feel a little bit more balanced, a little bit more safe. Now you have your arms. You can bring them down, you can bring them to your heart center, you keep them on your hips. You could grow your tree, extending the arms up. Again, if you're having a hard time balancing, stare at something in front of you that's not moving. If you're feeling pretty secure, I challenge you to close your eyes. This takes away your external focus point, or drishti, and it forces you to become more inward. So now you have to feel the sways of the body. You have to sort of surrender to those a little bit. And then you have to find the balance within yourself. I do not suggest doing this if you are already struggling to find balance with the eyes open. Think about pushing the foot down to lift the fingers, the chest, the head up. Trees don't just grow in one direction. The roots go down, the leaves go up. Exhaling, you can blink the eyes open if you try to close them. Bring the hands back to the center if you brought them up, or back to the hips. Bending the right knee in, stepping down, and giving the left leg a good shake. Great job. So we're going to do one salutation before we either come back to the chair or come down to the ground. I forgot to say this earlier. I think everybody's standing up that I can see. And I'm pretty sure I know all of you that you were going to stand up. But at any point you didn't feel like standing up, you didn't have to. You can do a lot of that seating. And you can let me know if that's the case, and I'll show you how to do those on another day, another time. Okay, so from here, we're standing up. We're going to face the chair. You're not into this today. You don't have to do it. You can sit down in the chair and do those same salutations we did earlier. These are a little bit more challenging, but also a little bit more strengthening, which is always good. So I have a bolster right in front of the chair. You can put a couple blankets down, pillows, just something that lets the ground come up a little bit. The bolster is the new ground. You don't have to do this with your knees if you don't want to. It's completely fine, but this helps, especially if you're having knee problems. Just helps the ground get closer to you. Facing the chair, we're going to inhale, lift our arms up. Exhale, fold forward, finding the hands on the seat of the chair. I like to wrap my fingers around the seat. Some people prefer to have their hands flat on the seat. Find what feels best to you. Inhale, pull your chest forward. You're trying to lengthen forward. Really getting your hips almost like right over your feet. And then exhale, fold in. You can put a deep bend in the knees, letting your head relax. It's kind of similar to what we were doing earlier, just seated in the chair. So you can keep repeating that. From here, inhale, look forward a little bit. You're going to walk your feet back. Right off my neck here. You're going to walk your feet back so that they're back behind you, and your hips and shoulders can be aligned. So you might look a little bit like this to start. Think about getting your shoulders right over your hands, and then think about not letting your hips fall toward the chair, but pulling your lower ribs and hips towards each other. Plank. It's hard. It's great for your spine, and it's great for your balance. From here, you're going to bend your knees. If you can do one and then the other, or you can try to do both, to get them to either the ground or a bolster or pillows or blankets. And then start to send your hips back towards your heels, letting your head relax. You can extend your arms forward in the chair, child's pose. You can either make this super relaxed, just letting your head, your arms relax, or you can pull the hands against the chair to try to get even more length on the spine. Inhale, you're going to bring yourself forward, walk those hands back, push into the hands, lift up the hips, and send them back. We're coming into a downward facing dog. If this doesn't feel good for any reason, you can come back to that child's pose. Downward facing dog is slightly different than our hands forward. Now our shoulders are way back. We'll try to push our hips back. Exhale, get the air out of the body and walk the feet forward. I like to walk just till my toes touch the bolster. And inhale, halfway lift, pulling the chest forward. Exhale, folds. And inhale, rise up. Coming to standing and finding your equal standing pose. We'll do that 2 more times, a little bit faster so you don't have to hold everything as long. Inhaling, arms up. Exhale, folds. Inhale, halfway lift, pull the chest forward, get long. And then exhale, step forward, step back, plank pose. So your toes are under your ankles, shoulders over your wrists. Exhale, drop the knees. Maybe they find a bolster, maybe they find the ground. And then you send the hips back. Again, you don't have to do that either. You can just hold a plank the whole time, and I would be highly impressed with you. You can always push the hips back into downward facing dog if holding a plank gets exhausting though. And then everyone's gonna bring their arms up, tuck their toes, send the hips up and back, come in downward facing dog. Pushing against the seat, trying to get your hips long and back and your spine long. Keep a deep bend in the knees, especially if that makes it feel like you can relax your shoulders a bit. And then exhale, walk the feet forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, folds. And inhale, make your way to standing. Exhale, RCP. Inhaling, arms up. Fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. And then from that lift, just walk back into plank. Pushing the hands down, pulling the chest forward. Bend the knees, bringing the knees down. You can keep the toes tucked or let the toes relax, whatever feels best on your ankles, and send the hips back, child's pose. Inhale, and then exhale. And then on an inhale, press the hands into the seat, lift the hips slightly, start to press the hips back, downward facing dog. Walking the feet forward, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, press. Exhale, press the arms down. Great. We're going to do some hip openers. If you don't want to come down to the ground, then come back to your seat, just sitting in it like a normal chair. If you're okay with coming down to the ground or interested in coming to the ground, you can use that bolster the same way. You can bend your knees, put your knees on it, and then step one and the other off, or just do one knee and then the other to come down. Because I'm already here, I'm going to show what it would look like on the ground, but I'll also get back up in the seat. Just do one and then the other. So, we're going to face the chair, and we'll go ahead and start to put our calves on top of the chair. If you're seated in the chair, you're just seated like normal. So you can lay back, put your feet up. And that in and of itself might feel really great to you, and you can just stay here for a moment, letting your spine be neutral. So that means you're not arching it, not rounding it, you're not trying to press anything into the ground, you're just letting it be. And you can find a position with your arms that feels good. That could be hanging beside you or laying beside you. That might be goalposts if you're on the ground, so your arms are in a goalpost position next to you. If you're seated, you're just letting your spine be neutral, which means you're not trying to sit up so tall that you're creating tension, but you're also not slumping. So there's a little bit of engagement. On the ground, and make sure your hips feel okay. If they don't feel good like this, maybe try putting a blanket or something or towel under them. You can lift them up, put them in there, and you can come out. But from here, we're going to take our right knee either into our chest. If you're on the chair like this, and this is as far as it gets, just putting the foot on the chair, that's cool. So we're doing this again. We did this earlier. You guys are probably like, we did this already. We're just squeezing our knee in towards our chest a little bit, as much as feels comfortable. And we're going to take our right ankle, and we're going to put it on top of our left knee, a figure 4. If that doesn't work out for you, you can have the foot anywhere along the shin, letting the right knee fall away from you. I'm going to show you seated what that might look like too, but you could use a block if the knee is too far away from the foot and causes any pain in this knee. Look at your no sensation in this right knee. If it feels good, you might want to walk that left foot in a little bit, bringing that right knee closer to your shoulder. Or if you're seated, you would fold forward a little bit. You're finding the level of sensation that allows you to be aware of your body, but not to change your breathing pattern. You don't want your tailbone coming off the ground. So it's still relaxed on the ground, and we're really just concentrating all of our sensation in this outer right hip and maybe our low back. you're on the ground, you'll stay there. I'm going to show you really quickly in the chair what this looks like. So you would be with a leg crossed, or you got a block or something around that you can set your foot on. And then you can either be sitting up, or you could be folding slightly forward if you're sitting up. So just take a couple more breaths there. Hips and shoulders for a lot of us tend to hold a lot of tension. Hips are really big muscles, so we need to give them some time to release that tension. What we don't want is any pain in the knee, and so we can always make that a little bit less by changing the angle of our foot. And we don't really want any pain in the back either, but you might really feel some sensation there. Then take one more breath. On an inhale, start to make your way up if you're seated. And if you're on your back, just start to release that left leg back in the chair. Pull the right knee in towards your chest and release the right leg back next to the left. You can even give yourself, even if you're on the ground or you're seated, these little wiggles side to side of the knees. If you're on the ground, you're kind of massaging your low back. And then we'll switch to the left side. So pulling the left knee in towards the chest. It doesn't have to go very far. And then seeing, can I get the left ankle over the right knee? The answer is no, that's okay. You can always prop it up somewhere else. You can always also just find sort of an ankle cross. So my left ankle crosses my right ankle and let my left knee relax out to the side. And then when you fold forward, you might feel a little bit more sensation. And that's really usually pretty safe for the knee. I shouldn't say always, because there's always going to be somebody who that doesn't feel good too. In which case we can adjust the ankle in some way. One thing that is not great about these virtual classes is that it's much harder for me to check in with everybody. So as we're sitting here, I'm just going to say this, that if there's a thing that doesn't feel good or you can't figure out, please email me and we can talk more one-on-one on the video chat so that we can figure something out for class. And then if you hadn't, you can bring the right knee in closer or you can fold. And then on an inhale, make your way up or release that right leg back down, pull the left knee in, put it beside you. Again, knees can go side to side. That can also happen if you're laying on your back. So if you're seated, your Shavasana is going to be you seated. And if you want to find a more comfortable seat, that's okay. Like I have a couch over here, go there. Or you can lean back a little bit, that's okay. If you have 2 chairs or an ottoman or something, it might feel really good to put your feet up on something if you're seated. If you are laying on your back, just let your legs relax into that chair as much as possible. They might even scoot forward a little bit. If you're laying on your back and your neck is bothering you, or it feels like your head is sort of dropping below your shoulders, grab a blanket, a pillow, whatever you have that you can support your head with, and put that under the head. This is our final shape, Shavasana. So Shavasana is a really, really important shape that we make. It's a time for our body to integrate everything it just did and learned. It's time for us to rest and truly rest. It's time for our nervous system to restore the body. So we find a place that is physically pretty comfortable. Close the eyes if that feels comfortable, or just soften the gaze. And then start to release control. So you're trying to let the body really sink into whatever props is below it. You're trying to sort of find this involuntary breath. You're not controlling it, you're not manipulating it, it's just happening. And then eventually you are trying to let the mind become involuntary. For many of us, that's hard and a little scary. So an alternative to begin is just allowing the mind to find something very gentle and easy to focus on that helps it relax a little bit. So that could be your breath. You could return to that exact same exercise you started class with, just observing whatever you can about the breath. Or I also suggest bringing your attention to your hands. So they may be on your lap, they might be somewhere on your torso, they may be on the ground beside you. And then just really noticing all you can about your hands. The weight of the hands resting wherever they are. The temperature of the air on the skin. The temperature of whatever the hands are resting on the skin. You can start by noticing the sensations of the palm, and then moving up to the fingertips. Noticing individual fingers, noticing the hand as a whole. Just noticing whatever you can, no judgments, no adjusting, just seeing. And the reason I sometimes prefer to choose hands to focus on rather than the breath is there is no real changing of them unless you move them. There's not a lot of judgment about whether you're doing them right or wrong. They're just resting there. There's no judgment about, oh, my inhale is longer than my exhale. Exhale's not very quiet or some sort of judgment. There's just not a lot of judgment when you're really bringing your attention to just what the hands feel like right now. And eventually your mind will wander from your hands. And that's okay. That's what Shavasana is supposed to do. But if you don't like where it's wandering, you always just return back to whatever you were focusing on before. Hands, breath, mantra, whatever it is. If you're particularly comfortable where you are, you're welcome to ignore me and stay in Shavasana. You're also welcome to come back to Shavasana. If you're ready to leave Shavasana, the time for class to end has come. So you can bring some movement to your fingers and toes. You can begin to deepen your breath. Begin to make movement slightly bigger, maybe moving through your wrists and ankles, elbows and knees, head, neck. And then if you're on the ground, just bringing the knees in slightly so that you can roll off to a side, and then press yourself into a comfortable seated place. That can either be getting back into the chair or staying on the ground, especially if you Don't want to come up and down off the ground a lot. You can just stay there for a moment and then we'll all get up together. Closing the eyes if that feels comfortable to you. Breathing as heart center. Thanking yourself for being here today. Sending gratitude towards your classmates for sharing this space with us. Sending gratitude towards the teachers and the cultures from which this practice came. As I thank each of you for sharing your practice with me. Thank you. Thank you all. I'll turn you off mute now.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I'm so happy to be back. Stop the recording. Thank you all so much.